Hey there, team. Welcome back to the Time to Grub Dad podcast with your host, Chong. And today I have got a very special guest, Mr. Adam Rennell, jumping on the podcast today. Tell us a little bit about yourself. Obviously, off air, we sort of talked about your accolades in powerlifting, what you do for work, and all that kind of stuff. But for those who don't know, yeah, tell our listeners what you do, what you've been up to, and more importantly, I suppose, as the topic of choice today, how many kids do you currently have, and age, if
How
you'd
many
like to
kids?
share?
Oh, we'll save that one to last, bro. Powerlifting, coaching, and that kind of stuff. So I got my degree in sport and exercise straight out of high school. From there, went into PT, and from there into powerlifting coaching. So powerlifting coaching, strength coaching for the last 10 years, and competing myself the last 8 years. Not at the elite level, just
Just
the
yet,
average
just yet.
genetically gifted. Yeah. But we're always trying, bro. We're always trying. And yes, that's kind of the background there, bro. And then kids, I have two kids. So I've got a 4.5. He's going to be 5 in January, which is pretty mind blowing. Ari, and then Asher is 2.5. Both boys.
Ooh,
That's the
two and a
yeah.
half. Is the so I've got a kid at the moment and a second one on the way in March.
You have a second on the
Um,
way.
yeah. So I'm
Oh
gonna
no,
have
bro.
to. Oh no!
I didn't know that, dude. I didn't
I
know.
was literally gonna ask. I was literally gonna ask
Yeah.
because
So
yeah, because you mentioned
yeah,
Ari
nah,
is like
that
4.5, and Ashley is like 2.5, so that's like a 2 year gap. So mine's sort of
yeah
in similar fashion. So Henry will be 2 in April, but then our
yeah.
second one, no idea the name, no idea the gender yet. We'll know in a little bit,
Mm,
as of this recording, at
mm,
least in November, we'll know. But he or it is coming in March.
mm.
So yeah,
Yeah,
what do you
close.
mean by oh no? That sounds like I'm in for an even rougher time.
Oh, all right. The way what we got told anyway when we were looking at having kids, because we always knew we wanted at least two,
Yeah.
and we got told get it out the first 2 years of the hardest, whatever. Get the first 2 years out real quick. Like get two kids close together. That way, like in terms of intensity, yeah, it's more intense, bro, but it doesn't last as long. And then I don't know what your boy's like now, bro, but in terms of sleep and shit like that, my oldest is horrific, bro, horrific. You wouldn't even believe me, but I'll tell you anyway. Like he would wake up hourly, bro, up until he was 2 years old. Hourly.
Oh
I'm
my
not
god.
joking.
Oh
I'm
wow.
not joking.
Not even after he turned one and stuff.
No, no, he was horrific, bro. So having him and then thinking, fuck, what if we have that again of a second kid and that's another 2 years of horrendous sleep? But luckily, Asher, really good sleeper relative to Ari. So we got lucky there. But yeah, I think that was our theory. We're like, let's get the two close together so they can, be mates, play together, all that kind of stuff, and just get it out of the way. I have told people, bro, that I don't think it's twice as hard with two. I think it's exponentially harder than twice, bro. One is so fucking easy. And then two, bro, is just like, you might as well have 10. That's how I felt anyway. And you're going to get a lot of parents who obviously have more than two who are going to say what I'm saying is complete shit. But that's my feeling, bro. We pretty much have closed the door on a third, put it that way. And we originally
Yeah.
planned, no, potentially three, but nah,
Yeah, nah. Yeah. Yeah, like I've so I am the only kid in my own family, so I never really sort of had that experience. I'm the only child in my family, so I never really had that experience of having a brother or a sister, either older and younger. But I see my wife and sort of her two sisters, how they sort of grew up and how they interact with each other, which was quite cool. And I'm sure I will learn quite a lot when the second one comes along. Question then, and this was not a question that I did put in the show notes to ask, but is terrible twos a thing? Because they always say that terrible twos is a thing, but I never really fully comprehend or understood that
yeah.
concept, if you will, I guess.
Bro, terrible twos. what is it? Every year, isn't there a word alliteration for every year, bro? But from two, there is a thing. Yeah. So, um, I think Ari, my oldest, right, from two, he was pretty good. It was the three. When he was three, he was starting to kind of work out his boundaries a bit more, and what mummy and daddy can put up with and what we
Yeah,
can't put up with. Asher has a terrible twos. I feel like he had a terrible newborns all the way through. Like, bro, that child, he's difficult in a different way. Once again, I make it sound like it's, you know what parenting's like, bro. We can make it sound like it's very traumatic, but it's the best fucking thing in the world. Anyway, so yeah, I would say yes, bro. If your boy hasn't had any terrible two kind of stuff going on now, like it will come.
it'll come. So it's more like
And
a it's more like a terrible 3 or 4 thing. It's just kind of like inevitable.
yeah, bro. Like I think they say like four is four NATO, three. There's one for three as well.
Oh, Jesus.
Ari, yeah, Ari's four. Like his year now, 4 years old, is actually real smooth, bro. He's yeah. I don't know if we got lucky or whatever, or he's real easy now. But yeah, before that, just a small note, bro. I'm an only child too, which I think would be cool to kind of bring up.
Yeah,
Yeah,
how did you? That's interesting. So how did you? I don't know. Like this is kind of what I'm going through personally in my own head now, and I guess this will probably be very relatable for you, given Asha's already 2.5. But how did you sort of go about like, yeah, like what were you thinking when the second one was sort of coming along? Obviously, you and your wife knew that you were planning for more than one. Like being the only child in the family, like yeah, what was going through your head? So personally, like what I'm sort of thinking through currently as I'm preparing, for the sibling to come and all these kind of things is like, ironically, when Henry came, I kind of knew like, oh, cool. Like, I kind of reflect back as a kid. I'm like, all right, like mom did this, dad did this. I grew up a certain way. They talk to me a certain way. I've been given these boundaries, blah 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 blah. But then now I don't really have like a reference point for like what happens when you've got two.
yeah,
Whereas when I
yeah.
had one, I'm like, oh yeah, cool. Like I can sort of almost, like sort of refer back to like, this was how it was done. I found it okay, therefore maybe I would attempt a similar approach.
Mhm.
But in my head, it's like with two, I literally don't have a reference point. Like I have I can't comprehend. Like,
Yeah,
did you have like thoughts like this? Like
yeah.
how did you go about that?
Mine similar to you, bro, but different in the sense of like mine kind of stem from kind of a lot more insecurity or anxiety around I can't comprehend how to not have a favorite or that kind of stuff. Do you
Oh
know what I mean?
yeah,
Like
yeah,
sharing
yeah,
the
yeah,
love
yeah. That
between
one
two
too.
kids.
Yeah,
Yeah, because I only child, right? So my parents were like, loved me, and there was no one else to share that love with. And there's pros and cons to that. Being an only child, as you probably know, bro, we can tend to be a bit more selfish than other
yeah,
people and things like that. But so that was my struggle, bro. Was like, how do I like with Ari? I've got a real tight bond with, and I definitely did it. He was 2 years and 4 months when Ash was born, and I had a real tight bond with him. And I found the newborn stage of both, bro, very difficult. Like I had it was just this like blob of flesh. Like I had no connection or anything, which really fucked with my head too. But anyway, that's a tangent. So yeah, that's what I struggle with. And Ash is now 2.5, like I said, and I definitely have a real strong bond with Ash. I still feel like my bond with Ari is stronger, but I feel like he's like double the age. I've got to know him for 5 years, and I've got to know Ash for 2.5. I feel like that's expected. And I definitely don't have a like favorite child in the sense of I'm always trying to split up the love between them as much as I can, like consciously. Even if Ari is more fun to play with because he's 5 and he runs around and we can wrestle and blah blah blah, and Ash is more into kind of books and animal toys and he's a bit different, but I'll still sit down and read with him even though reading's not my thing. Um, but yeah, that was my big struggle, bro. But in terms of what you're talking about, like relating it to childhood, I didn't do that so much. I kind of like, I've always been a very, I want to say go with the flow, but not in the relaxed sense. I've always just kind of taken shit as it is and just tried to deal with it, but make it up as I go. Make it up as I
yeah.
go. Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, that's parenting though, right? Like,
Oh,
I
bro,
mean, like
100%. There's no
make
right
it
and
up as
wrong
you
way,
go.
man. You can read books. And it's like anything, bro. Parenting, and then it's probably nutrition and coaching. There's so many kind of different ways you can do it, and still end up with a good enough result. We can't be perfect. Perfection's not a thing. We just want to be within an acceptable range, which is, you talked earlier about how does coaching and parenting relate, and I would put that in a big thing. I try to be. I struggle with perfection sometimes, and I have to keep reminding myself, like, just good enough. Like, not in a lazy sense, but in a has to be good enough sense.
Yeah, yeah,
Um,
yeah, for sure.
yeah,
Yeah, that's interesting because like exactly what you said too. Like, I had a very similar thought. Obviously, the second one isn't actually here yet, but I'm like, like that whole idea of like splitting up the love. Like, it's hard to define how you split it, but it's like, how do I do this thing? Like, you
yeah,
don't really,
it
like,
is.
and I feel like it's one of those things. Literally, what you said, like, it'll happen. You'll figure out a way, but it's also like the anxiety of needing to do it. It's like, how the fuck do I? It's like I can't logistically. I can't like put it
Yeah,
to put it
yeah,
put it around in
yeah.
my head. Yeah, for
You
sure.
can't you can't comprehend it, right?
So
Like, yeah,
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 yeah, yeah.
and I think. Oh, sorry.
No, no, you go, you
Oh,
go.
I was just gonna say, I think that's a sign of a good parent, bro. I think the internet's fucking out a bit, bro, so we're a bit out of time, but that's okay. The sign of a good
Nah,
parent, the
that's
fact
pretty
you're
fun.
even thinking about this stuff, bro, the fact that even plays on your mind, is a good thing. Like, not that if it doesn't play on your mind, it's a bad thing, but it just, yeah, I think it's a good thing. I think it shows that you legitimately want to
You
be
think
a good
about it.
father, and you're trying to. And yeah, that's the coolest thing.
Yeah,
Hmm.
yeah, for sure. So how did your training sort of changed when Aria was born? Obviously, you were still training now. Ash was born. You sort of trained too, and obviously prior to both of them being born, you were obviously training as well. Like how has that affected you, or if that has affected you in any way? Because
Yeah.
obviously you
So
coach, but yeah,
yeah. So I don't know if I would say it, like, affected me, but and like I definitely had to change my approach. That's for sure, right? So the way I kind of organize my life is my family's like my priority, and if I'm ever working or training or anything way more than I kind of want to, and it's taking time away from fam, I will cap my lifters or I will cap my time training, right? But coaching and training are very important to me, so I'm never going to not do them. So what I did with training was when both boys were born, I took 2 weeks off, two full weeks. When my first was born, my that was my transition of, like, I didn't really notice at the time, but training was going to change. In my head, I was like, nah, nothing will change, blah blah blah. My amazing wife, super amazing. She still, when I say let me, I don't want to use those words, but there were no issues with me going out and training for 3 hours, right? You know how powerlifters train when we're taking our time, 3 hour session. I probably did that, bro, for about 6 months when Ari was first born, but he was born during lockdown. He was born during COVID, right? So, or just before COVID. So I kind of had the time anyway. I was at home. I had a setup at my mum's house, which I shouldn't have been doing, but I was going to my mum's house 5 minutes down the road. But after that 6 months, bro, I decided to speed up my training. So basically, I any kind of unnecessary rest time, I would cut. Any kind of accessories that I deemed junk volume, I would cut. And yeah, that's how I kind of do it. So up until this day, bro, now my training session's an hour, bro. I get in what I did in 3 hours in an hour. Um, when I was training at North Shore Barbell for a while, everyone was commenting like, "Fuck, you train so fast! Like, how are you already done?" Blah blah blah. And
just
that's just
got
because
more
I
shit to
conditioned
do,
myself, bro.
man.
I just fucking had to, bro. Like, it's
Don't
just
have
then
a
it had to
choice.
happen. And I think a lot of powerlifters, bro, would be surprised at how much faster they could train and still achieve the same results. So, like, contrary to popular belief, bro, you don't need to be in there for 3 hours to get strong. Even to get elite, I would argue you just don't need that kind of time. But yeah, so that's the big thing, right? Speed up my sessions. In terms of frequency, nothing changed. Still trained as often as I did. Now at home, I've got, like, the last 3 years we've been in a different house, and I've got a home setup, so
Yeah, nice.
I can go out and train, and the boys can come out with me. They can sit on the couch, and I'll just give them a tablet, bro, some screen time for an hour or whatever. But when it's good weather, they just run around outside, bro. We've got a full fence section. I can hear them.
Yeah, no.
I know what's going on. I definitely don't have the same, I guess, focus as I would. But when you've been training for a long time, as you probably know, like, even that in a sense is overrated year long. I don't think you can focus. intently
Yeah,
here along with
you
training.
gotta
So
you just like sometimes you gotta dial in, sometimes you just gotta like
exactly, you'll burn out if you're trying to dial in
45 in
every
and out.
session. Yeah, bro.
Yeah,
It's getting the work done and then dialing in when it's deemed necessary. I coming up to comp will go to a gym. So North Shore Barbell is my local. I will go there, for 4 to 8, 12 weeks, whatever it is, for no distractions in terms of children. And that's okay now because the boys are old enough
they're a
that
bit older,
one,
yeah.
yeah, they might be at preschool or they. Another tangent here, but the oldest only goes to preschool 3 days a week. Youngest goes 2 days a week. So
Yeah,
the days they're both at preschool, I will train,
yeah,
and then 2 days a week they'll be with me or whatever. But
yeah, yeah.
yeah,
Yeah. It's interesting that you decided to do like three and is it 3 days in preschool and 2 days in preschool?
yeah,
I suppose like
yeah.
another tangent, like was that like a was that like a logistical choice? Because like I'm assuming you or your wife will be able to look after them on the other 2 days that 2 or 3 days that
Yeah.
they're not in school, or was it more so a case of like yeah, like what sort of came what sort of I guess made you come to that conclusion? So why I guess I
Yeah.
asked that is because the kindy that we intend to send our kid to is literally like no joke, 15 seconds from my house. Like we
Man,
literally open the door, walk
yeah.
up the driveway, and the kindy's literally there. Like
How good?
the entrance literally like 15 seconds from our driveway. And we we had the idea already of like, you know what, like the moment you're of age, we're gonna send you 5 days a week of kindy. But then hearing you say that, you send them 3 and 2, yeah, I'm just kind of curious, like
Yeah. No,
was that
it's a
like
good.
a yeah, yeah, like
Yeah, good question, bro. It was a conscious decision, not to do with finances or anything like that. So my I've always, ever since I was a kid, bro, I wanted to have a wife and I wanted to have kids. Like I wanted to be a dad. Like I want to spend as much time as I can with my boys, like while they're young. And the way I see preschool and kindergarten, I get that parents need to do it because this day and age, bro, mum and dad work 9 to 5, 5 days a week. It's a norm. Whether or not we think it's a good thing or not, I don't. But it is what
mm,
it is. So yeah, spend as much time as we can with them as we can, but still have them have that social aspect of preschool. Because when I was young, bro, I fucking loved school in terms of being my friends. Like it was the best thing. I don't give a shit about learning, but I love being with my friends. So
yeah,
Ari, my oldest, is like that. He's extroverted as fuck, so he needs that. So 3 days a week
mm,
he goes in to get that, and then the other 2 days a week we spend time with him. We have a family day that we all go out and maybe we go to the zoo or whatever once a week. The other day we have a home day where we just fucking blob at home, and then the weekend we kind of just win. But my wife and I are very fortunate in that our work. So my wife's a nurse at Starship.
oh
She just
gotcha, yeah,
works two big shifts a week, 12-hour
yeah,
shifts on a Sunday and a Monday night. And because she's doing the weekend and a night shift, she gets over like time and a half sort of stuff. So she's getting paid
yeah, yeah, yeah,
effectively for a full work week. And being a coach myself, I lump all my big work kind of onto one day and I make a massive work day, like 12 to 14 hours in terms of programming for lifters. And then throughout the week, I just drip feed work where I can. But that sets us up in a way that we're not restricted by work to do, you know, have that kind of lifestyle that we want. And that's what we want. We want that on purpose. I could work more, and my wife could work more, and we could make ridiculous money. But
cool.
we don't care about that. We want enough finances to do what we want to do, and from there, that's it.
Yeah, that's actually very refreshing to hear, and I think more importantly as well for me. So taking that in was quite eh, well, not as a reminder, but yeah, I guess it is a reminder because I do sort of have a very similar mindset, just kind of with your approach with when they're young, like spend as much time with them. And this is also something my parents tell me because like you kind of get to a point where they have to go to primary, and
Yep.
it's you don't have a choice. It's 5 days a week, right? You don't really you don't get a say on I only want them to go in 3 days or one day. It's 5 days a week
Yeah.
of school. Like it is what it is. You have to commit.
Yeah.
And I think at least here in New Zealand, the way that kindy or preschool works as well is that it's like you get 20 weeks, 20 hours a week of like free thing as well, right? So you can kind of use it in like 5 6 hours a day. I'm assuming like you could use like 5 to 6 hours a day, or you could do like 3 to 4 hours a day, depending on how you want to split that up. At least that's
Yeah,
the way that I
yeah,
was being told.
yeah. It's a little, from my understanding, it's more like your sub. They say 20 hours subsidized, but that's at like a. It's more the total amount of money, and that will be at the whatever the average standard rate is. But
Ah, gotcha,
we,
gotcha, gotcha.
yeah. So the preschool we go to, we actually pay quite a lot. It's we were at a different preschool, and it just didn't. My oldest was really showing sign every drop off, crying like for a long time.
Yeah,
And I
the
know there's
vibe.
a
Yeah, the
period of
vibe just
time as
wasn't there.
parents
Yeah,
where there is a transition. Yeah, but this lasted a long time, bro. And I was like, fuck this. Like, I don't want to be doing that. Like, I don't want to do this with him. I want to find somewhere where he legit
yeah,
wants to go. So we do pay a bit extra money for kind of like a not I wouldn't say private, but kind of private preschool, and it's been the best thing, bro. He has fucking blossomed, that boy, since he's been there. So anyway, yeah. So we
yeah,
get 20 hours worth, the 20 hours subsidized, but then we also top up a couple of $100 between both of
yeah.
them.
And it's just based on
So
the average rate of of how much the preschool is charging. Kind of.
yeah,
Yeah,
that's what I
gotcha, gotcha,
think, bro. That's
gotcha.
what I think. Because yeah, yeah.
Yeah, yeah, it's interesting. Yeah, but yeah, like very like I said, like very refreshing to kind of see how obviously you and your wife sort of structure it, because I kind of have a very similar philosophy, like I said, and yeah, like just trying to spend as much time as I can with him and obviously future them. That's sort of the approach I like
Mm,
want to take too. And yeah, like hearing what you say, like structuring it 3 and 2 actually does make quite a lot of sense. Obviously, that kind of ties in with how you structure your work, how your
mm,
wife structures her work too.
mm.
But it's definitely something I'll
The
take into consider, like deep, big consideration for sure. Because
yeah,
he hasn't
yeah,
started.
that
Yeah,
yeah. The 3 and 2 setup is like that they go on the same days that they go. Like so, Monday they both go. Tuesday just Ari. Wednesday they both go. But the only reason Ari is going 3 is because when he turned 3, we just put him in 3 days a week. Ash is only going twice because he's 2. We just kind of want to do the same thing we did with Ari. The difference of Ash is he actually loves it from the get go. Like Ari, when he first started at another preschool, didn't love it, but
mm,
Ash right now could go to 3 days. We could do that. And there's been talk because, bro, the flip side of this, right? The flip side of wanting to spend as much time as you can with the kids. Obviously, all the stuff that comes with being a parent comes in. Like, it's too much a lot of the time. A lot of the time I'm like, bro, I can't handle the stimulation. Like I need fucking quiet time, So there is that balance. So there has been that talk of putting Ash in more. But right now we're managing.
managing.
We Yeah, there's been a lot of shit happening, bro, in the last couple of years. My wife had back surgery, had
Ooh.
another surgery, something like a lot of shit's happened. So it has been very like I said, winging it and very overstimulating at times. But yeah, I don't have any regrets as to how we've done it. Mm.
Yeah, for sure. That's cool, man. I like that. I'll definitely take that on board.
Mm.
And I know that recently as well, you loving spending time with your kids. You actually got Ari, I think just Ari, into his first deadlift competition.
Yeah, bro, that was a bit of fun, man. So yeah, I'll explain how we kind of got into that.
Yeah,
So
yeah, yeah. Oh, dude,
what's that?
you tell, because obviously
Yeah,
it's a
I'll
hobby
tell.
that you enjoy, and he's
Yeah.
obviously picked
So
it up. So
yeah, so one thing I've always standing real firm in, man, is that like my hobbies, not this isn't being selfish, this is like my hobbies and mine, and I don't expect my boys to get into them. I don't care if they don't get into like I literally have zero. I don't care. If they enjoy it, fucking mean, let's go. But if they don't want to do it, I'm not going to push them. So what happened was maybe like 5 months ago, GPC New Zealand put out a deadlift only comp kind of proposal that like kids could do it. So under the age of 14 could do it. And I was like, I saw that and I was like, fuck yeah, like I wanna live with my boy. Like what's more cool than that? Like this is such a unique
100%,
opportunity.
yeah.
I was actually gonna take the year off like competing and just kind of, do some off season stuff for a year. But because of that, I was like, nah, fuck, let's get back into it. Deadlift only, easy as. So Ari, I asked if he wanted to do it. He said yes. Obviously, he could not comprehend at all what I was talking about, but he
What
said
was it?
yes.
Was yeah?
Yeah, he was
He's
like,
like
yeah, that's
that
like, he's
says
like, I'm going to do a
yeah, yeah.
competition. And I was like, yeah, but do you know what we're doing? Anyway, so got him in the garage, bro, got like a 5 kg barbell, and I just told him to pick it up. As you know, I don't know how much you know about this stuff, bro, but I'm sure you know a lot. Like kids, bro, are so resilient. When we're talking about bad technique with spinal rounding and shit, like, bro, their bodies are designed, even adults, man, this is a whole nother thing. We're designed,
Yeah.
any movement we can do, if you do it with load and work your way up, you can strengthen that position.
100%.
When we're talking about efficient movement patterns to lift the most weight, that's different. I'm not talking safety. I'm talking, efficiency. But with Ari, safety wasn't an issue. I was never worried about him hurting himself. And that was something that people brought up with me all the time. And I was like, I'm not going to make him pick up the heaviest thing he can and, grind a rep. And even if he did, I still have full faith he's going to be okay. But I went with the approach of let's just lift and have fun. Like I just want him to pick something up and think it's cool. So
Yeah,
we
yeah.
did that. The first few weeks of doing that, we did it twice a week. He just came out whenever I was deadlifting. He was actually like picking up quite heavy weight, and I was like, "Yo!" So I started putting my coach hat on, and I started pushing him a bit too hard, bro. And then what I found out was like, he was getting upset that he couldn't lift the weight easily and all that kind of stuff, and he just wasn't having a good time. And as important as I believe resilience is for people and for children growing up, and that's the role of the father, I think, to instill that. There's a time, and I don't think 4 years old is the time to do that personally. Maybe we drip feed it, but we're not like, I'm not going to do that. How my
You're
dad
not gonna go.
parented
You're
me,
not gonna go Goggins on him at 4 years old.
no, fuck no, no. My dad was the Goggins bro, so I learned from my dad. I was like, hey, there's things he did that I just didn't respond to. It just pissed me off.
Yeah,
So
yeah,
yeah. Anyway, so I dialed the weight back. I just like, right, let's just do easy weight twice a week. I just want him to pick something up and put it down in a way that is going to be okay in a comp. He just knows what he's doing, and he did that. And then the comp time came. My wife is a crazy creative person, loves making stuff, and she made him like
yeah. I
a
saw
Batman
that the little
costume.
suit. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah, bro. So made him a Batman costume, and that way he also had a mask. If there was any kind of insecure, just fear or shyness, he just put his mask on. But he's a very extroverted kid, like I said. There were no issues, bro, which I was actually quite shocked at. Like me being 4 or 5, like I would never have done something like that. Like what the fuck? But yeah, nah, he went up on platform. He had 3 attempts, same rules as all of us, bro. And he hit all three. Obviously, didn't load anything on the bar. He was going to miss. I was with him the whole time, and yeah, he loved it, bro. He had a great time.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's the kind of story behind that. And as since then, I haven't got him out doing any lifting, but he has brought up a couple of times, "Oh, Daddy, can I do some lifting?" And so that's when I will set up a bar and he can have a little if around. But I haven't done anything, yeah, beyond that.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's the kind of gist of it there, bro.
I think that's cool, and like kind of maybe also hearing that is like maybe because you mentioned days where you train, you bring them into garage, you just chuck them obviously on a little tablet while you're lifting. I think there's also something to say where if they see you consistently doing something, but you don't really pressure them into doing it, they're just like, cool, like, just chill here for a bit. I'm gonna do my thing. I just believe personally, like at some point they will kind of go, "Hey, like I want to do
Yeah,
what you do," like whether they might like it or not. It's I funny they don't like this like real parenting shit. Like how like you try to trick them into eating vegetables and they just hate it, and then you
yeah,
just go like, you know what, you don't have to eat it. You just start eating it, and this is what we do here. I just start eating broccoli in front of him. I'm just like, all
yeah,
right, you don't want a broccoli, I'll just start eating it, and then he'll be like,
yeah, yeah, yeah,
yeah, sure, you're eating it. So I think it's kind
yeah,
of in a very similar fashion where you're like, rather than forcing the issue, you just kind of almost show them like, hey, this is safe to do. To obviously, with safety, is obviously lifting, eating, two very different things,
yeah.
but like, this is
No,
safe
no,
to
I get
do.
you. I get you.
Yeah, this is safe to do. You don't have to do it, but daddy or mummy will do it,
Mm.
and you want to, in your case, I guess, like deadlift, or in my case, eat broccoli, go
Yeah,
for it. Like, we're not
yeah.
gonna try to stress you out. Obviously, a lot more context to that, but I think that's something that,
No, it's a good
yeah,
point.
I'm trying to strive to do. Like don't force him to do what he doesn't want to do, but kind of show him, hey, like you don't have to do it. I will do it because I want to do it, or I need to do it. Then at some point you'll
Yeah,
probably understand, like, okay, you need to do it. So I
yeah,
think that's
yeah.
that's
No, no.
yeah.
I for sure think that's definitely a good tactic, bro. And I think there's like two things, like two ways to look at it there in terms of like young boys. If you're a good enough dad, I think they really will look up to you, and I think they probably even look up to you if you're a shit dad. But if you're a good enough dad, they're looking up to you, and they do kind of want to replicate what you do. And I think that's really cool. Yeah, yeah, they'll look up to you, and I think that's what I was going to say. Just want to make sure they're not doing it like just because like if there's a time where they don't actually want to do what you're doing, I think that's really cool because that's them being themselves and letting you know like I actually don't want to
Yeah,
do
yeah,
this.
yeah,
Like Ari, my oldest, when he was young, like my favorite color might be blue, and he'd be like, "I love blue, Daddy. That's my favorite color." Blah blah blah. He just copied me, and now there
yeah,
might
yeah,
be something like I'll eat something, or he'll eat something, and he'll be like, "Daddy, this is yuck," and I'll be like, "Nah, it's yum. I find it real yum." And
yeah,
he's like,
yeah.
"Well, for me, it's not." Like he says it now. He's like, "For me, it's not yum," and like I love it. It's him being himself, and I'm not going to
Yeah,
be like,
that's awesome. Yeah,
"Yeah,
yeah,
like your food's another tangent. You're obviously the food master here, so like you're probably not going to like what I do. But there's some stuff, if he legitimately doesn't like a food, like I'm not even going to try and force like at all. If he legitimately doesn't like it, I will try and find a substitute that has similar nutritional value if that's the way I'm inclined. But yeah, I remember being a kid, bro, and being made to like eat shit I hated, and it didn't work. I just didn't eat it, bro. And like the
yeah,
option was eat that or nothing, so I would eat nothing because I legitimately didn't like a food. I don't think there's any like benefit to forcing someone to eat something they legit don't want to eat. Like if you don't like it, like do you know what I mean? It's different if
yeah,
you
yeah,
know
yeah.
they liked it in the past and now they've discovered chocolate and now they won't have anything but chocolate. That's different. But if they
Yeah.
legitimately never liked a certain food, yeah. Anyway, that's a tangent.
Funny you say that because like I think there's actually some research that actually shows like at least particularly for toddlers, well babies, toddlers, and so preschool, but obviously before they get into primary where they start to really develop themselves as
Mm,
like the exposure and all that stuff. Like I think the most important thing there, very tangent, but it's like how much they actually eat, just like total calories and stuff like that. Obviously, whole foods is important. Like you don't want to be shoving lollies down, but like whole foods is very important. And I think like hey, if you don't want to, funnily enough, I'm Asian. My wife's Asian. We love rice. He fucking hates rice. He just like with a passion, like
true.
literally with a passion, like any type, like white rice, fried rice,
Yeah,
curry with rice, anything that has rice. He hates it like the plague. Like literally, he'll not even have a grain, which is
crazy.
crack up.
Yeah,
So, but
yeah.
then like,
That's
yeah, it's crack up because we're like, bro, you came out of us. Like, surely you have to be Asian at some point.
yeah, yeah, yeah. Oh,
like
that's
you had
funny,
to
bro.
eat
Yeah,
it.
no, yeah. There's definitely. I mean, my wife's Asian, bro. She's Filipino, so my boys are half
Oh,
Filipino.
true.
And
Yeah, yeah.
same kind of thing, bro. There's Filipino dishes that like fuck are delicious as man. It's pure comfort food, and they don't want to eat it, and
They
it just
just they
blows my
just
mind,
hate
bro.
it.
It blows my mind.
Yeah,
Um,
but yeah, but I think the most important thing there like is total calories, like total intake for sure. And like to your point there, Tori, like funnily enough as well, like apparently like vegetables, like just like vegetables in general, particularly like yeah, just vegetables in general. It seems to be like for kids. I think mostly for toddlers and babies, maybe less so for uh, kids and teenagers alike. They're actually quite bitter, and
mm,
it's actually designed by nature because technically speaking, uh, ancestrally, if you are eating something bitter, it's generally poisonous,
mm.
and so that's kind of why like kids don't like it because it's actually quite bitter and their taste buds are quite sensitive. They're like, oh, whereas for us, we ever hit a lettuce, we're like, oh yeah, you know what, lettuce,
Yeah,
yeah. But for
interesting,
them,
bro.
it's like,
That's real interesting.
for them, it's like, oh, like bro, like that's hella bitter. And
Yeah,
it's funny because if you actually like blend up vegetables and like the whole parent hack, make it into like a fritter thing and you fry it with, they'll actually eat it because it masks the bitter taste. So yeah,
yeah,
it's interesting.
yeah. That topic's an interesting one, bro, and I'm very scared to discuss it because you know way fucking more than me. But I've always had a certain
No,
like
no,
view
no.
on things like that. Like I think there's a lot of parenting that obviously we think we have to do because it's like being conditioned to us. But like if a child's resisting so strongly, why are we doing it if the alternative isn't that bad? So what you're talking about there with vegetables and stuff like that, I'm definitely of the belief that like in terms of whole foods, micronutrients, vitamins, minerals, you know, meat, for example, has a fuckload. Like there's a lot. And yes, maybe we don't cover all our bases all the time, but I agree with you in the sense of like calories for a child, they're growing.
They just
Um,
need to eat. They just need to
yeah,
eat
bro,
straight up.
100%. And like yeah, use logic and get as much whole foods as you can, and don't fill up their calories on lollies because you're trying to fill their calories up. But like they're gonna be okay. My wife's parents were a Filipino, and they're very like we go to their house and they're very like eat, 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 eat. And I'm like, and sometimes the
Yeah,
boys
same.
they're not hungry. They're just like not hungry, and I'll be like, and they kind of get offended that the boys don't want to eat. and they almost might get a bit
Yeah,
worried.
same,
And I'm
same,
like,
same.
yeah, and they get a bit worried. And I'm like, look, Asher in particularly and Ari, they've got body fat on their body. They've got stored energy. There is no danger right now in this one day for them not to eat.
Yeah,
In
yeah, yeah.
this one meal. Sorry,
They're
it's not like
cool.
they eat all fucking day. I'd be a bit, oh, we didn't eat all day. It's a bit weird, but like that's kind of my thinking with nutrition and them. Like
Yeah,
we did the smoothies for ages, bro. Like spinach, we got heaps of spinach in them by fucking blending up with a bit of pineapple juice and a banana. But as of recently, they've both decided they don't like that anymore, and we kind of just stopped doing it. And you know what? I haven't noticed any negative side effects, bro. They're still the happy,
yeah,
energized children that they are. But yeah, like I said, there's that boundary of, just because chocolate's your favorite food doesn't mean all you're gonna eat chocolate. Like, I still go by the, if you want some chocolate, like, eat your dinner first, and then that
yeah,
proves to
yeah,
me you're
yeah,
hungry enough. Like, yeah. Mm,
yeah. I think it's like I'm a big like believer, kind of funnily enough, with like what we sort of talked about. So like the whole lead by example thing. It's like, hey, like I'll eat chocolate. You can have chocolate, but I'll only eat chocolate after dinner, for example, or
yeah,
I'll have we will have the good takeout food, but it's only
yeah,
on a Wednesday
yeah,
because
yeah,
I go out to train in the evening and I don't cook, and therefore we have takeout on a Wednesday. But that's another
yeah,
point. It's like, hey, we're gonna have
yeah.
takeout food. It's Wednesday. Yeah, like to your point, I think like it's like you just gotta let them be what they be. They'll develop their own thing, eh? Like they'll
Yeah,
just kind of figure
exactly.
that
And
out.
like, yeah, I think having a boundaries are a thing. We have boundaries, but anywhere within that boundary is good. Like, be yourself, man, but don't run out in front of a car on the road. Like, I'm going to grab you and pull you back, whether you want to or
Yeah,
not. But yeah, I don't know. And like we said at the very start of this, bro, we're just making up as we go, and we're just kind of doing what we believe is right. But I do think there's so much good information on parenting out these days, bro. And I think we're kind of the generation that's going against the
the
societal kind
grain.
of
Yeah,
conditioning that
definitely,
we've been.
definitely,
Yeah,
definitely.
like, I don't know how you guys do your sleep. That's a big controversial topic, right? But we co-sleep, bro. We co-sleep to this day. They sleep with us. Ari now is
I
transitioning into
yeah
into his own bed, but yeah.
yeah.
Mm.
For us, we he likes to sleep on his bed. So the
Mm.
funny thing
Cool,
is,
me.
he's not even 2 years old, and he just doesn't want a cot anymore. So he's actually
Yeah,
sleeping on a bed, like a full-on adult bed at one.
yeah,
So
yeah.
we're like,
That's
all right,
cool.
you get your own bed, and then but we were like, but he also knows like he gets his own room. So
Yeah,
when he whinges, I'll just kind of go in and I'll just co-sleep with him, and then he sleeps,
yeah,
and I'll figure it out. I'm like, oh, I think I'm awake, and then I'll go back to my bed, and then it's like
yeah,
30 minutes
yeah.
later, my alarm rings. I'm like, oh, I guess I got to go up now.
Yeah, no, exactly. But I think doing it's not doing what the kid wants, but doing what the kid needs. Like at that young age, bro. Like if they're crying out for mummy and daddy, like they need mummy and daddy. Their little body
Yeah,
can't contain the emotions that they're currently feeling.
yeah,
And
exactly.
I could talk about this all day, bro. But you see the research on sleep training. Sleep training, and it's pretty eye opening, bro.
It's
And
pretty big.
in Gene's culture, Filipino culture, but like, and lots of cultures over the world, co-sleeping is the norm. Like everyone sleeps, the families sleep in the same room.
Oh
Everyone's
yeah,
always like, oh, how do you and your wife have your private time? Like, bro, there's ways around that. Like, we have a
you'll
couch.
figure it out. Yeah,
Fuck.
yeah, you'll figure it out.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, man. Well, obviously you've been a parent in a day for quite a while now. What is the single? That's why it's the biggest lesson that your kids have taught you so far throughout this journey.
I saw that question, bro, and I was like, I don't know. I'm just gonna wing it on the spot because I still don't know. I would say for me, definitely learning how to be a lot more selfless, bro. Like you're having to put these two children ahead of your needs the majority of the time because they can't look after their own needs. I think that's probably one of the biggest things.
Yeah.
More would come to mind, but bro, yeah, I
At
that's a
this point,
hard
at
question.
this point in time, at this point in
Yeah,
time,
yeah,
yeah,
something
for
around
sure,
that.
man.
Yeah, yeah, something around that, bro.
Yeah, that's cool,
What about
man.
you so far?
Ooh, so far, I think that's a really good question. First guest to actually ask that back to me. So I think
Yeah, it
for
is.
me, it's not caring what other people think. especially
That's
like
a good
I
point.
guess in our industry, the whole like health and fitness industry, the whole imposter syndrome. It's like, oh, I don't know if I'm posting content, I'm good enough. Oh, man, but once you get a kid, it's like, bro, you don't like it, don't like it, fuck it, like it's your
Yeah, yeah,
problem,
yeah,
bro. Like,
yeah,
and I think that he's taught me a lot. And like, it's funny because obviously before a kid, I always had this thing where it was like, obviously, like when you're flying, baby's crying, you're like, oh no, I get that they need it, but you're like, when you before you have a kid, you're like, oh come on, bro, like not now.
yeah. Oh
Once you
yeah,
get a kid, once you get a kid, I don't care,
yeah,
bro.
yeah, yeah. Nah,
he can scream all he wants. I will do
yeah,
my best, but I
yeah,
literally do not care what you think. Like I
yeah.
straight up
Nah,
don't care.
yeah, no,
I straight
100%,
up
bro.
don't. Yeah.
Yeah,
Like
yeah,
whatever my
no,
kid wants to do, if it's within my values and my bounds and it makes sense, he's not hurting anyone,
yeah,
you feel a certain way, hey,
yeah, yeah.
that's your problem, bro, not mine.
Yeah. How good, bro? How good would the world be if we all had that philosophy and just, made sure we didn't harm everyone, do what you want within reason?
Yeah.
Fuck. What a
Yeah.
nice way to live.
What a nice way to live, eh? And what a nice way to sort of end this episode as well. So, I know obviously you mentioned obviously you're a dad, but you also do coach powerlifters and stuff like that. Where can people find you? How can people get help? I'll obviously put your things down in the show notes as well. But yeah, fire
Oh, that's
away,
cool, bro.
fire away, fire
Yeah,
away.
so Adam Reynolds coaching, all one word on Instagram. That's my main source of communication with my lifters and potential lifters. And yeah, that's it, man.
All right. Cool, man. All right. Well, thanks for coming on, Adam. We had some technical issues, but we worked through it. And yeah, it was
We
great chatting,
did.
man. It was great chatting. I definitely
Yeah,
took a
bro.
lot out of it. And yeah, we'll see you in the next one.
Awesome. Now I'm keen, bro. I'm keen to come back. There's way more we could talk about.
Way more, buddy. All right. Thanks for coming on.
Great, Joan. Thank you.